All right, so the rambler, actually a little bit of a similar issue. And I know I've been leading the meeting and I've been the rambler, so it can be really, really difficult. We talked about the fact that every single session should have a documented purpose, agenda, and limit. I talk about this in my classes. I say, hey, if you don't have your purpose, agenda, and limit written down, you're not ready to meet. So that can help you, because if this person is kind of rambling and they're going from one topic to the next topic, maybe we're on that second agenda item. And so we're supposed to be talking about the inventory replenishment cycle times. But somehow we started off talking about that, but she's got us on to talking about marketing issues and some rumors she heard about a downsize in marketing, and now we've been talking about that for 10 minutes. So it's much easier for me to jump in if I've got that agenda right here, and I can say, oh, guys, I know we're kind of talking about some marketing issues. I just want to kind of level set and make sure I got it right. We're here. We're supposed to be talking about the inventory cycle times. So maybe that's something that we should possibly put on the parking lot. You know, what do you think about that? Okay, but having it visible is really, really helpful. In addition to that, you want to have the timings for each agenda item. Again, most people will have timings for the overall meeting. So they say, hey, the meeting's from 9 until 11, and then these are all the topics. You know, we're going to go through. It's like 20 things, a list of 20 things we're going to go through. Think about having timings for each individual topic. So that way, when she chimes in with something that's kind of off topic or she's rambling a little bit, it's easier for me to jump in there and say, oh, hey, you know, you're bringing up such a good point, but I know we've only got 3 more minutes left until for this particular section. Would you mind if we hold that until we get to open issues at the end? And usually I like to have some sort of placeholder like open issues so that I can redirect those off-topic issues or those issues that are too detailed or rambling until we get to the end. So that could be helpful as well. This next one is very powerful. I really, really want you guys to get this because, again, it goes back to that task-relationship dilemma and that issue that I think that we as women in particular struggle with in terms of balancing all at the same time. It's questioning. I think many of us have been in a situation where we've seen rambling or dominating or some sort of behavior that we want to stop, okay? And so we tend to say, hey, you know, I think we need to kind of take that offline. We intervene. How many of you felt that? Like you've kind of intervened, tried to step in there and say, hey, I think we need to take that offline. What I want to offer to you, something I learned fairly early in my career, anytime you need to say something that's fairly difficult or you feel might be a little too abrupt, turn it into a question, okay? Questions are inherently less threatening than statements, okay? Another thing that I learned, and actually I learned this one thanks to my husband, people don't like being told what to do, okay? I don't know if your significant others clued you in on that, but they really don't. I actually remember the exact moment that I learned that lesson. We were driving home from church, and we have a condo, and we rent it. And of course, when it's not rented, we have the wonderful opportunity to pay 2 mortgages, you know, which we had been doing for about 4 months because my husband had not cleaned out the condo so that we could show the condo, okay? So I had been nagging, trying to get that condo cleaned out, trying to get it cleaned out. And he had been procrastinating. And so we were leaving church, we've got time this afternoon. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna plot. This is a plan. We are going to clean out that condo. You know, we're all gonna put on our, you know, jeans, we're gonna get over there, we're gonna do it in one fell swoop. So I said to him, hey, honey, you know, we don't have anything to do this afternoon. I was thinking, why don't we go over to the condo? I think we need to go over to the condo and just, you know, clean it out. He looked at me and he said, you know what? I was going to go over to the condo today. That was my plan, to clean out the condo. But just because you said that, now I'm not going to do it. Gasp. I'm so glad I heard a gasp because that's exactly how I felt. I mean, just made no sense to me, but actually in some ways it made the most sense. Let it be their idea, okay? They don't like being told what to do. So that's why this questioning is so powerful. So let's see, what's your name? Okay, Wendy. If she's bringing up this issue, when people ramble, they typically love what they're talking about, don't you? I mean, when I'm rambling, I love what I'm talking about. They get on their soapbox, they love it, okay? So Wendy is going on and on about this vendor. This vendor is useless. You know, she's just kind of rambling. She's beating a dead horse. And I know this would never happen. So there are kind of two ways I can handle this. I could say, you know what, Wendy, the vendor issue, I know you're bringing up, I know it seems important, but we just don't have time today. We really need to table that. So can we need to take that offline, okay? I could say that. Or I could say, gosh, Wendy, God, that vendor issue, I didn't realize how big a problem that was. I don't want to shortchange it. I'm just wondering, do you think we should cover it now? Or do you think maybe it might be better to take it offline? What do you think? Do you see the difference in the approaches? I mean, I basically said the same thing. And trust me, when I ask the question, I know what answer I want, okay? But it's so powerful. And again, balancing that task and relationship. Whatever it is you want to say, turn it into a question. So here what I'm saying is question if the issue can be taken offline, because now it gives her the power, it gives her some control. I'm not telling her what to do, I am asking her a question, all right? Now, what is the downside to using that approach? By asking her the question, hey, do you think maybe we should take it offline? What's the downside there? She might not give me the answer I want. Let's face it, I mean, she might say, well, no. I don't think we need to take it offline. I think we need to talk about it right now. I could think of two obvious ways I can handle that. What do you guys think? What could I do at that point? If she says, well, no, I don't want to take it offline. I want to cover it here and now.
Ask the group.
Yes. Ask the group. Usually what I'll do is if I kind of disagree, and if I feel like others disagree, usually you can look at people's body language and they're rolling their eyes and, oh my God, there she goes again. Can we move on? Usually I'll throw that out to the group. I'll say, well, you know what? That's a really fair point. I know this is kind of everybody's time and everybody's meeting, so let me just throw it out and see what other people think. What do you guys think? How should we spend? We've got 15 minutes left. How do you guys think we should spend the rest of that time? Okay? Wonderful technique. Thank you. And then the second option is I call time boxing. And so what I might do there is I might say, and usually I'll do this if I kind of do agree, like maybe she is bringing up a point that really is somewhat relevant and I would maybe like to spend a little time, but I really want to time box it and I want to get to resolution. I don't want to just keep going on and on and on and on about it forever. So I might say, well, you know what? I hear where you're going with that. How about this? Why don't we agree that we're going to spend 5 more minutes on this issue, and then at the end of 5 minutes, we need to document some sort of action item. Somebody needs to take an action item to finish it off. Can we agree to do that? And generally, that will work. So that's how I handle it if they say, well, no, I really think we need to cover it here. So that is the next one. The other one is park the issue. How many of you have used the parking lot? I'm sure many of you have. Have you used the parking lot? I only see a couple hands. Parking lot is just this concept of you come up with a sheet of paper, a whiteboard, some sort of space to park or to hold issues that come up that you don't want to deal with right then, but you want to deal with them later. Now, the important thing with the parking lot is you do want to come back to the issues, okay? You don't want to just park everything and then just leave, Then people, your parking lot becomes a graveyard, and people realize that that's just a very polite way of you're saying, shut up, I don't want to talk about it, all right? So generally, I'll have a flip chart, a whiteboard, or something. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll give each person a Post-it pad, and I'll announce at the beginning of the session, and this is really, really important. Don't wait until you got a rambler and then try to park their issue, because then sometimes they still feel it's a personal sort of issue. Go ahead and announce it to the whole room at the beginning. Say, hey, issues are going to come up. We're challenged for time today. I'm going to need to park some things. So don't take it personally, but that's why each one of you has a pad of paper. If something comes up and I feel like we just don't have enough time to get into the detail today, please accept my apologies now, but I'll go ahead and just ask you to write it down so we don't lose it. And then we'll come to those issues at the end of the session. So again, you want to announce it right at the beginning. This is a wonderful technique that so many people don't use. So many people feel like it's my meeting, so I have to do everything, okay? And those are usually the meetings that don't run as well because you can't do everything. I mean, you can't lead the meeting, participate in the meeting, take the meeting notes, keep track of the time, keep track of ramble. I mean, you just can't. So, and again, as women, I think we do try to do it all a little bit too much. Don't be afraid to assign someone else, and I usually try to ask for a volunteer, but someone else to help keep us on track. And this is something I've done very, very successfully. One technique that we used, we called it the Rambler Police. And let me explain to you guys, this is the way it worked. We literally had like a little badge. And so one of our ground rules with our teams was each meeting we would rotate who wore the badge. And whoever's turn it was for that meeting, their job was literally just to raise their hand anytime they felt like we were off topic or we're spending way too much time on something or we're rambling. My question to you is this: why use the badge? And I know it looks silly, so why go to that? Why not just say, hey, anytime anybody thinks we're rambling, just chime in, just raise your hand. What does the badge do?
Visual reminder.
Visual reminder, yes. And then what were you gonna say?
It labels them.
Yes. It kind of gives them permission. Because let's be honest, if she's rambling and she's going on and on and on and on, I mean, I know she's rambling, you know she's rambling, everybody pretty much knows she's rambling. Why are we not jumping in immediately?
We don't feel like we have the right.
We don't feel like we have the right, and we don't want to feel rude. You know how you're brought up, don't be rude and be polite and don't talk over people, etc. So what this does is it gives us the permission. So now when I chime in, I'm not being mean or it's nothing against her. The team has asked me to do it, and that's why I'm doing it. And an interesting thing happens. If you do this with the team long enough, after a while, the maturity of the team elevates and you don't need it anymore. And that's what you want to get to the point where you really don't need it. And then my last technique is actually my favorite. I will leave you guys with Elmo. It's the Elmo technique. Elmo stands for everybody, let's move on, okay? And so then this is, again, a slightly more mature team. And let me be honest, okay? You don't whip out Elmo to any meeting, with your clients, etc. This is for kind of tight-knit, closer groups. It's worked really, really well. The way it works is we have an agreement that Elmo sits in the middle of the table. Anytime anybody at the session feels like we're getting off topic, we're spending too much time on something, all you have to do is pick up Elmo. Again, it's physical, so I don't have to interrupt her, which is what is the barrier a lot of times. You just pick up the Elmo doll, and I'll promise you what happens is if she's going on and on and on and on, all she has to do is start reaching anywhere near this doll, and she's like, oh, okay, I know we need to, move on. It works really, really well. And before you ask, I know you're going to ask about conference calls, virtual meetings. Even better technique, come up with a ground rule that you can hit the pound sign anytime anybody on the call feels like we need to move on, we're rambling, etc. And it works even better because it's anonymous. Nobody knows who did it. And I'll just admit, I have led many sessions where we had that ground rule, and I think the person's going on and on. I really want to cut it off, and I hit that pound sign. I say, oh, somebody hit the pound sign. It sounds like we need to kind of wrap up, okay? So at any rate, that is everything that I have for you guys. I really wanted to give you just a couple real tangible tips and techniques. I know how it feels to come listen to a speaker, and it might sound kind of great, but I feel like I didn't really walk away with anything I can start using immediately. I hope this wasn't one of those sessions. I hope you got something you can start using immediately. If you have follow-up questions, please call me, email me, and then I've also left you a list of additional training topics. I talk about lots and lots of topics, but thank you so much for having me. You've been a great group. Thank you.